Welcome back. We are now seeing mega whale wallets unlocking for the first time in multiple years, over 1 decade, with billions of dollars moving around as we are literally at all-time record highs, and people are arguing, Cryptoviser, we're not at all-time record highs, even though, like, quite literally we are. In today's video, what we're going to be exploring is where the price of Bitcoin is now, where the price of Bitcoin is going, and really more of a deeper dive into what's going on in the altcoin space, because a lot of people are wondering, are we going to get an altcoin? They're expecting an altcoin season. But at the end of the day, we're seeing moves in altcoins already. And I'm not just talking about crypto altcoins. I'm also talking about stocks that are directly connected into crypto. We're also going to be discussing internet computer 20xing. So make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. That way you never miss a new video. Also, do me a favor, give the video a free thumbs up, because crypto is not free, but thumbs up are always free. Multi-billion-dollar hodls. Bitcoin whales awaken after 14 years. This Bitcoin hasn't been touched since Bitcoin was 78 cents in 2011. And I keep getting asked the question, well, Cryptoviser, if we're at the top of the market, which by the way we are, it may not be the all-time top forever, because I do think that the price is going higher in the future. But where we are in this cycle, guys, people are wondering, where's all the Bitcoin coming from? Who's selling all their Bitcoin? Not everybody is as bullish as you are because you bought at $50,000 or $40,000 or at $100,000. Some of these wallets, they were purchased for $7,800 back in 2011. And this may have been a Bitcoin mining wallet. So it may not have even costed them pretty much anything besides electricity costs. And now the Bitcoin is worth $1 billion. And so I want you guys to think about this, right? Bitcoin right now is about $100,000. We'll say 110,000. So if Bitcoin goes up to $150,000, right, this whale would go from basically 1.1 billion to 1.5 billion. Now you could say, well, that's a big difference. Guys, it's $1 billion, right? I mean, they've been holding for this long already. And so there's been a lot of selling. There's also been a lot of private movement of the coins. A lot of these companies that are going public and becoming Bitcoin treasury companies like 21, this was Tether's Bitcoin. Tether just moved the Bitcoin from their wallet into 21 Capital's wallet. And they're going to recapitalize that. They're going to make even more money than the Bitcoin was worth. First of all, they got paid for the Bitcoin, right? Probably in stock and maybe some cash. Some of these are all cash deals. So they're getting the money for the Bitcoin, plus they're getting shares in the company. And then the company is going to do multiples. And we've been already seeing this going on. And it's not just happening in the in the Bitcoin space. It's also happening with Ethereum and SharpLink and the Tom Lee company. We're going to be talking about that in just a minute. But before we go there, Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed, but Bitcoin could fall to $90,000, according to Arthur Hayes. And you guys know when Arthur Hayes talks, we listen. We may not agree, but we at least listen, because he is very accurate and very in tune with how these markets operate, what they do, and where they're going. And by the way, make sure you guys are subscribed. Hit the thumbs up button, and let's listen to what Arthur Hayes has said here. So obviously, he's still bullish about Bitcoin's future price, as I am as well. But he said that Bitcoin is still likely to test $90,000 again this year after the big, beautiful bill is signed into law. In a blog post titled Quid Pro Stablecoin, the co-founder and former chief of BitMEX said that the president's bill could lead to the U.S. Treasury to borrow more. The bill passed the House of Representatives, last week or whatever, and Trump is expected to sign it. But Arthur Hayes argued that the Treasury would refill the general account, potentially creating a liquidity drain from markets and in turn affecting the price of assets like Bitcoin. However, he ultimately thinks that Bitcoin will continue to push forward thereafter. He say, proceed with caution. The bull market might be interrupted for a short period of time. And this is what we've been talking about, right? The idea that we are not going to have a correction makes me believe that we are going to have a correction even more. The fact that we went down to $98,000, which was like a 5% drop in the price, and people were calling up, that's the bottom, that's the bottom. I'm like, what? we didn't even really move down, going from 105,000 to 98,000. Yeah, it's 5%, but it's really not that much when you're thinking about how much volatility we actually see in the crypto space. Plus the fear and greed index, which we've been talking about a lot lately, it's hovering in the middle in neutral territory. Even if it goes a little bit over to the right or a little bit over to the left, it's still in the neutral territory. What I'm looking for is the buy signal, which is when we are in the extreme red, and the sell signal when we're in the extreme greed. And some people agree and are taking action in their portfolios, and some people are just going to watch this fear and greed index go over from one side to the next, one side to the next, one side to the next. They're going to see Bitcoin go up and go down, go up and go down. And before you know it, we're going to be in a bear market. That doesn't mean that I'm not bullish on the market. That doesn't mean that I'm not saying the market can't go higher. Of course it can. But guys, even analysts at Rect Capital are saying that while there's a lot of talk about the Bitcoin cycle extending into next year, traders should not throw away time-tested principles. Something that I've been, preaching on this channel for literally all year now. I mean, the more bullish everybody gets, the more bearish you need to get. You need to be opposite the fear and greed index. When others are greedy, you be fearful. When others are fearful, you be greedy. And it's going to, you may not call it on the exact day, right? So we may be in the green back and forth, and you may be selling, and then you're seeing the price go up a little bit, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? But this is where you have to be careful, because if you get FOMO, you're going to screw up. You have to follow through with your strategy. There is no rush into or out of the markets. I would say there's probably more of a rush out of the markets than there should be into the markets. But one thing that I firmly believe is, like, when we were in the depths of the bear market, right? When everybody was fearful after FTX collapsed, we were in this red zone, like all the way down. Everybody was fearful. You know what we were talking about on this channel? Buying the bottom of the market, because the fear and greed index and the sentiment in the market told us that was the bottom. A lot of people didn't listen. A lot of people were unsubscribing, saying, Cryptoviser, you're going to be wrong. There's going to be more failures. The price is going to go even further down. Well, they were wrong, and we were right on this channel, right? And we're probably going to be right again, that this is the macro top of the market. Yeah, we can go higher, but everybody is anticipating the market going higher. You have to understand this. Like, it's even on Dave Ramsey's show. People are calling in saying that they're like $500,000 in debt, and they have $1 million in Bitcoin, or they have $100,000 in Bitcoin, and they're waiting for it to go up because this analyst on Twitter or on YouTube or on Facebook or in a group chat said, oh, well, if you wait till this date, don't worry, everybody's going to leave. It's the same thing with the extended cycle. Like, you think that Raoul Pal is going to tell you when he is selling in this extended cycle? No, he's going to sell way before many people, because if he believes that the market's going to top in June of 2026, he's selling way before that. Because we're seeing the exit liquidity come in. Wall Street is the exit liquidity. The wallets are unlocking, right? Because they don't want to hold this Bitcoin if they may not get the $1 billion in cash, because you're not going to be pumping. Like, if they're selling in a bear market, who's buying $1 billion in a bear market? Smart money is. And then in the bull market, smart money dumps it. And that's exactly what is going on here. So anyway, Bitcoin may only have a few months of price expansion left in this cycle, especially if it follows the same historical pattern from 2020, according to crypto analysts. They said we have a very small sliver of time and price expansion left. And Rec Capital explained that the Bitcoin cycles follows the 2020 pattern. The market will likely peak in October, which is 550 days after the Bitcoin halving in April of 2024. He said that's already 2 to 3 months potentially that we have left in this bull market. And again, potentially. And so as a market bull, you have to be ahead, because once the market starts falling, people start running for the door. And we have very large players in the game right now. And so if they start selling, it's over, right? The market is going to crater very, very rapidly. And then you're not going to be able to get out of the market. You're going to FOMO. And so again, if you have 2 months left, why even risk it if that is what your belief about the market thesis is? Personally, we've talked about the Bitcoin halving tracker on this channel extensively. And if you don't know what the Bitcoin halving tracker is, you need to hit that subscribe button. That way you do know what it is, because we do talk about the halving tracker on this channel quite often. And this time since the Bitcoin halving is critical, because most people are like, oh, well, last time it was November. The time before that, it was December. In 2017, it was December, the top of the market. 2021, it was November. So it's going to be around there. Not realizing that the Bitcoin halvings are happening earlier and earlier and earlier from a month perspective. Because yes, it's a 4-year cycle, but it's based on block height. So it's happening earlier and earlier because there's more blocks being produced because of the network expansion, I would imagine. So yeah, with that, why would you want to risk it? And by the way, if all the smart money and smart analysts are believing what Rect Capital is saying, are believing what Arthur Hayes is saying, are believing what the Cryptoviser is saying about the market cycle and understand how this all works, they're going to get out before that time frame. And this is why you're not seeing extended cycles. You're seeing actually shortened cycles. One, because the halvings are happening earlier from a month perspective. But number two, because the smart money, and there's a lot more smart money now than there was, cycles before, because you have a lot more analysts, you have a lot more data, you have a lot more time on the historical charts to kind of look for clues and rhythms and rhymes in those market charts and how they move based on different factors in the economy and sentiment and all of that. But guys, like, we are not going to have extended cycles. We're going to have to actually have shortened cycles. Now, in terms of this extended cycle that Raoul Pal is pushing out there, I don't think that he's entirely incorrect, but I do think that we're going to be topping out this year in 2025. And then I think we're going to have a little bit of a downtrend, probably into the middle of 2026. But then something's going to happen in the middle of 2026, and we are probably going much, much higher in the markets. And so again, top in 2025, downtrend into 2026, and potentially in the middle of 2026, we'll see the uptrend. And what are some of those factors that we are seeing? Well, one, Federal Reserve Chairman Powell's, chairmanship ends in May of next year. And they're setting this up to potentially put Besant in, who's our Treasury Secretary currently, or somebody else. It doesn't matter who, but whoever they put in is going to cut rates. And now, from what I'm hearing, is Donald Trump was saying that he originally wanted 1 percentage point drop in the rates, and now he's asking for 3 percentage points drop. We're at about 4.5% to 5.5%, I think. So a 3% drop would bring us down to 1.5%. That was pandemic level when the Federal Reserve was cutting. But this is not going to happen in 2025. The Federal Reserve is very clear. They're not looking to cut anytime soon, and they're looking for the data. And, unemployment is going down. Job market is going up. Inflation is a kind of wavering, and potentially with the tariff situation, we're going to start to see the effects of that. That could potentially put inflation a little bit higher in certain categories. And so that may lead the Federal Reserve to not cut anything. And if they continue to do this, again, it could be setting up for Jerome Powell to either exit as chairman at the end of his term or get fired. But either way, somebody else is going to be in next year. And they're setting it up so that that Fed chairman can come in and really save the markets. And so to save the markets have to be in the red. And we're not in the red right now. We're at all-time record highs, literally in the stock market and in cryptos. And so they asked on CNBC the other day, can you be the Federal Reserve Chairman and Treasury Secretary at the same time? Listen to what Treasury Secretary Besant said. And by the way, he's a huge crypto bull. And so imagine he becomes the Federal Reserve Chairman. Gee, unbelievable. Let's listen in.
It's floated out there. You have some odds on Polymarket of being the next Fed chair. Can you be a Fed chair and a Treasury Secretary at the same time?
I think it hasn't been done since 1930-something, and I'm very happy in my job here. I think we have lots of good candidates for Fed chair. We will start working on that in the fall. We've been busy. The president's been doing peace deals, trade deals, tax deals, and we are landing the plane on all of those. So
By the way, notice that he said that they're going to deal with that in the fall, right? So September, October, November timeframe. Yeah, to me, that says the Federal Reserve is not cutting at least until then, right? And the fact that they're going to start talking about it then tells me they're probably not going to cut at all, right? Or they're going to cut very, very little, maybe 1/4%. But I don't think that it's going to do that much for the markets. I think it'll actually put the markets further down, and this could be more of a reason that we need another Federal Reserve chairman, right? So let's continue listening.
we're going to have more bandwidth after Labor Day.
That was not a no. I just want to point out on the double job. Very interesting. Secretary Bessent, thank you for the time today.
Good to see you.
And
It's
happy
good to see you.
4th of July.
And you hear that? He didn't say no. So maybe they're setting that up. Maybe it's they haven't even discussed it yet. Who knows? But at the end of the day, he said they're going to have more bandwidth after Labor Day, right? So in September. So that tells me until then, the Federal Reserve is probably not going to act. And so maybe that we're going to see the markets fall into September. And then this will give, that narrative about we need a new Federal Reserve chairman more ground to build on. That's kind of what I'm looking at for the macro. And so in the shorter term, yes, Bitcoin can go to 150, 125, doesn't matter. I'm looking at the potential downside because whatever downside we move into at whatever point we do, like crypto is at the most bullish stage it's ever been. It's being integrated with banks. It's being integrated in traditional finance. It's being integrated in retirement accounts. I mean, this is big. And so the downside is actually the upside, not the upside being the upside. Let me explain. A lot of people look at the market and say, well, Cryptoviser, what if we hit 150,000? Then you're missing, the 50% upside from where we are, which is true. But if we go down to, I'm not saying that we're not going to hit 150,000. I want us to hit 250 or 500,000. But before we go there, we got to take a corrective dip. We have to. And so I would rather go to 200,000, taking profits now, go down to 50,000, start buying back in, move back up to 200,000. That's a 3 or 4x compared to a 50% increase, right? 300% versus 50%. Now, listen, people are not going to necessarily agree with that, but look at the market. Double top at the beginning of the year. We're already at a double top now, and we have lower highs and lower lows. You want to take that risk? Go for it. Go for it. But on this channel, we are here to make money. And a lot of people have been asking about alt season. Now, listen here. I don't know whether we're going to have alt season or not. We had alt season a few years ago. People didn't take out profits. They didn't think it was alt season, whatever the case was. But that doesn't mean we didn't have alt season. Well, now we have a different type of alt season. It may not be crypto altcoins because this is not what Wall Street is looking at. This is not where the liquidity is flowing. Now, it may move into altcoins at some point. I mean, we are starting to see Ethereum picking up. Hence, Bitmine is halted multiple times as the Ethereum treasury firm soars. This is the company that Tom Lee just became chairman of. And basically, they're becoming an Ethereum treasury company. Well, look at what happened to the shares of Bitmine. Before the announcement, it was at $4. I want you guys to think about this. We were at $4, maybe a week or two before I'm recording this video. $4. Now we're at $135, which is a 33x. Basically, 3,400% increase in a week. And people are saying, Cryptoviser, we're not at the top of the market. Cryptoviser, nobody is buying into this market. Cryptoviser, my altcoins haven't moved. Why are you expecting your altcoins to move? Just because they moved in the past, just because they went up, just because we had alt seasons in the past? That's not how markets work, guys. We have to look at the market in front of us, not the market we want. This is one of the biggest lessons that I learned very early on in the crypto markets, and really all the markets, is that you have to trade the market in front of you, not the market that you want. You could hope and pray forever that your altcoins are going to go up. We have gone over many altcoins, and we're about to talk about some as well in this video. Internet Computer, Solana, we're talking about those in a few minutes. There are altcoins that I think are going to move higher, but there's a lot of altcoins that they are never going to see their all-time record highs ever again. And you may just have to take that loss. But there's a lot of people who won't take that loss and they'll just hold forever. They'll go through multiple cycles in the red and just hold and hold and hold instead of just taking the loss, taking whatever they have out and putting it into something that is going to perform. It's very difficult, especially if you believe in the crypto or believe in the stock. There's a lot of stocks, there's a lot of cryptos that I personally believe in, that I personally am holding, and it's very difficult for me to exit those positions, especially if I do think that they're still going to move up. Like, I still think altcoins are going to move up, generally speaking. Not all the altcoins, but some of the altcoins. But part of me is also like, no, it's going to be Ethereum, maybe some Solana, and that's pretty much it. And so maybe I need to roll out of all the other altcoin positions I'm in and just put it in there. Maybe I'm doing that. Maybe I've already done that. Maybe I didn't, right? This is not about my portfolio. This is about building an investment thesis and building an investment strategy that you believe in, but also being able to adjust. When I saw what happened with Bitmine, I realized this is the alt season. This is this cycle's alt season. Now, this doesn't mean that altcoins are not going to move. I do think that they will at some point. I mean, they already did move. It's just they're not moving right now because all the focus is on what Wall Street is doing. The Bitcoin ETFs, the integrations. Like I pulled up this article as well. Visa and Yellow Card push a digital dollar use across African countries. And so you may say, well, how does that benefit us? Well, Visa is number one, they test in these smaller countries before they go into, the other major markets. But number two, there is a big worry right now from traditional finance, from the banks, the payment networks, credit cards, all of these that crypto is going to eat their business, and it will. They've had effectively a monopoly. It's almost very difficult to create a new financial institution that's going to take on Visa and MasterCard, American Express, and all of these other networks. Very difficult. And so crypto is doing it. It really all comes down to the ability to make money and the ability to save money, right? Because the fees are significantly cheaper moving crypto than in traditional finance. You have all these infrastructure and all these middlemen who are taking cuts along the way. And so right now, the focus is really on what is Wall Street doing, and they don't want to custody crypto. They don't want to hold their crypto. They don't want the risk, period. And so if they don't want the risk, what can they do? They can buy these Ethereum treasury companies, the Bitcoin treasury companies, and blend it out. So even if one fails or one has an issue, they have many others. And they don't have to deal with holding or custodying the crypto. And this is where the money is plummeting in. It's not just Bitmine. We can also look at, let's look at CEP. This is Cantor Equity Partners. This is going to become 21 Capital. You can see we went from $10 all the way up to $50, and we're still at a 3x at $30 basically. And so a lot of these different treasury companies and ETFs and MicroStrategy type deals, this is the alt season of the cycle. It just is, whether you want it to be or not. But that doesn't mean that things are going away. I mean, look, the Visa Chief Product and Strategy Officer wrote on his X page, every institution that moves money will need a stablecoin strategy, especially in emerging markets like Africa. Stablecoins will be an integral part of the future of borderless financial services. So we're partnering, Visa is partnering with Yellow Card to boost cross-border stablecoin transactions in Africa. Stablecoin infrastructure could bring effective, safe, and reliable solutions to both developed and emerging economies, especially ones that have been historically underserved. And so it's not just altcoins; it's also the stablecoin companies. I mean, look at Circle IPO'd. It went up to $300. It IPO'd at $30. It went up to $300, and now we're at $180 for a stablecoin company. I mean, this is where the money is flowing, and it's not I don't think it's going to necessarily last, especially again if we go into a corrective phase of the market. Companies like Circle are going to crater. MicroStrategy, it's going to crater because Circle it should not be worth this much. A lot of this is over speculation and low float of the stock because most of the shares unlock at the end of the year for the investors, right, who were in the IPO. And so really there's a very low float right now. This is why I think the price is this high. I mean, if you just look at the market cap of USDC right now, it's $62 billion. This is how much dollars they have. It's not how much they're worth. And so their market cap being $42 billion when I'm recording this video, it's a 60 or 70% of the market cap of how many dollars they have and hold. It's way overvalued. We're going to see a corrective phase here as well. MicroStrategy with the MNAV, that's going to compress as well. So there's a lot to think about here because investors and traders are going to make money on the way up and they're going to make money on the way down. Hodlers and bulls only make money on the way up. Well, hodlers never make money because they never actually realize their gain. But anyway, now let's talk about a little bit about not Cardano, geez. Let's talk about Internet Computer and Solana. And don't forget to hit subscribe and give this video a free thumbs up because here's the deal, guys. I just made a video recently saying I was wrong about Solana. And I think the thumbnail was I'm becoming a Solana maximalist. Well, I don't necessarily think I'm becoming a Solana maximalist just yet. I am definitely changing my tune on Solana. I still do think it's built by and for billionaires, but I think that because it's being pushed by billionaires, there's definitely opportunity here, and I don't think that Solana is going away. I think there's a lot of money still invested in the development of the ecosystem. Whether it's going to work out or not, that's a whole different story because really Solana has only brought us meme coins this cycle, right? Where I think that we really need to start thinking about, and we have been on this channel way before most other people, once the next narrative starts to pick up, because AI narrative is going to pick up. I mean, we just saw Robinhood releasing OpenAI tokens, and OpenAI is not even a public company yet. These are private shares from early investors who are selling those shares basically on secondary markets. This is unheard of, but this could be one of the things that pushes the next AI narrative and AI investment narrative, and this could potentially put all the AI cryptos much, much higher. But even so, the ones with real technology and capabilities. Just the other day, I did a video. We recovered. There's a company called Oblong. It is a publicly traded company, which is pretty crazy. They're actually, I would imagine this is somewhat connected to Barry Silbert because he's a BitTensor, he's a big BitTensor bull. But basically, this company, I think this is the one, Oblong, just purchased BitTensor for their treasury, right? That's what they're putting on their books. And I guess they're going to become a BitTensor strategy thesis company. Here's the deal. When I see things like that, where we are in the cycle, it just tells me like, these are money grabs, right? That doesn't mean, I'm not saying BitTensor is, but like buying BitTensor for your corporate strategy instead of holding Bitcoin or Ethereum or stablecoin, it just doesn't make sense, right? Because what has Tau actually done? Supposedly it's an AI crypto. It is really interesting. We have all three AI cryptos right here, BitTensor, Near, and Internet Computer. Very tight in terms of market cap, and it has not always been this way. BitTensor was much higher, and Near was much higher than Internet Computer. So Internet Computer is catching up, it looks like at least. But when we're thinking about like the AI narrative, there's a few cryptos that I think are going to do well, but we really have to think about also like longer term with some of these because there's a lot of potential here. ChainSpect said Dfinity is in the fast lane. And by the way, a lot of people consider Dfinity Internet Computer. So yeah, I mean, they're the developer of Internet Computer. I wouldn't necessarily say they are, but whatever. It is what it is. Maybe Internet Computer doesn't actually have its own X page, but whatever. On July 3rd, Internet Computer processed over 94 million transactions. This is the highest daily volume in the past 30 days. Serious throughput for a blockchain built to run real applications at scale. Now, one of the things that we've been talking about is the Internet Computer and its capabilities from a like a bandwidth perspective. And so if you go to internetcomputer.org or dashboard.internetcomputer.org, you can actually look at all of the the metrics for this blockchain. And we know there's been a lot of testing going on. A lot of this is leading up to the middle of July. They're launching, I believe, the public version of Caffeine AI, which can go and code and host and deploy an application or a website directly on the internet computer. It's pretty revolutionary technology that has not been tested in the blockchain world, even though we have a million different artificial intelligence like categorized coins. But just because they're categorized is like, think about artificial superintelligence coin, right? That was 3 projects that merged over 1 year ago at this point. And what have we seen from them? Absolutely nothing, right? Fetch AI, SingularityNet, and Ocean Protocol merge into Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. And I think a lot of people really anticipated that we were going to see some pretty revolutionary stuff, but it's almost like they're starting from the ground floor during that merger. And so, no, I mean, artificial superintelligence doesn't have the capabilities of AI, doesn't have any AI deployed, and I don't even know if they have the capability to deploy AI on their chains. Or are they merging them into one chain? Again, nobody actually knows. And we've been talking about the transaction throughput and the increase in the transaction throughput on the internet computer since they started testing the AI capabilities last year. And you can see significant increase. And now internet computer and Solana are going back and forth with who has the fastest chain in the last like week or so. Because right now internet computer is showing about 2,500 transactions per second when I'm recording the video. But as you can see, there's been a lot of volatility and a little bit of a downtrend, right? From the what was this, June, I think, May and June of the year, kind of leading up to a lot of testing of AI. I think the testing is over and now they're getting ready to deploy this technology. And so this is where the 20x for internet computer comes into play. Because we even heard from Dominic, the founder of Internet Computer and chief scientist over at Dfinity, that when we were at about 6,000 transactions per second, which was faster than Solana and therefore the fastest blockchain on the planet, Dominic was saying we're going to see a 10x in just a few months. And so that would put us at about 40 to 60,000 transactions per second. Now listen, a lot of blockchains have promised this in the past. And even a lot of blockchains are promising and saying that they're doing that today, but they're not. And so I always tell my viewers, I'm really looking at what is, not what if. And so if they're saying, well, we're going to 10x or 20x from here, okay, but what is currently? Can they really do that? You know, a blockchain going from 10 transactions per second and saying we're going to do 1 million transactions per second within a few weeks. Like, prove it, right? Prove it. That's a what if. What is what we see here. ChainSpect also said, ChainSpect's fastest from June 20th to June 27th. Here are the fastest chains by average TPS. And the competition is heating up. Not really. I mean, most blockchains are nowhere near Solana and nowhere near Internet Computer. Solana holds the crown. Dfinity stays strong in second place. So you can see that the actual transactions per second, they're going back and forth. You can see the max transactions per second over the last 100 blocks. Internet Computer is clearly the leader here. And you can see like there's another platform called the Kita Network, and they said they did 11 million transactions per second. No, they didn't. Okay, no, they didn't. And you can see it was a newly launched blockchain. There's a lot of new chains out here. You really have to like weed out the nonsense, right? Even like Taraxa, like what is Taraxa? Never even heard of it. They're saying they're doing 5,000 transactions per second. Never even heard of that chain. But anyway, we're talking about Internet Computer and Solana. So yeah, you can see that they're kind of going back and forth. They're really just neck and neck. Internet Computer is not even used as much as Solana, but the capabilities of Internet Computer are so much more vast, and the compute capabilities and bandwidth that is needed, I would imagine, is significantly higher for Internet Computer than it is for Solana. And by the way, a lot of people may have missed this, but there's Internet Computer executives or founding team that were actually part of the Ethereum launch. This user, who's an Ethereum maximalist and founder of Roadkey app, posted this in 2024. It says, many people were asking about who is who in the picture from my phone back in Ethereum's launch day. Standing next to Vitalik is Gustav, who worked with them a bit, I guess at Ethereum when it was being created, and then went on to Dfinity. So this explains a lot more of Gustav right here. And so this could explain a lot more because I'm doing a whole other video. It's going to be called something like Internet Computer is Our Sister Network. Because a few years ago, we heard from Vitalik at a conference who said that Internet Computer is the sister network of Ethereum. And this is, by the way, before I was even an ICP bull. I was kind of, that's part of the reason that I kind of started to think differently about Internet Computer, because if you guys remember back in 2021, I thought Internet Computer was a rug pull. I thought it was a complete and utter scam, because the day that Internet Computer launches, it goes up to $800. And then within a week, it drops down to $100. I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a rug pull. This is the insiders selling their money. But now we know that, I mean, maybe they were selling some of their shares, or their coins, but most of it, I think, was from FTX and Alameda, counter trading and perpetual futures markets, all the coins that they weren't listing. And Internet Computer was one of those coins that they didn't list, but they hated, right? And so clearly there was manipulation. But part of the change for me was hearing from Vitalik saying that Ethereum is the sister network of Internet Computer. Number one, it told me that Vitalik was familiar with the project. Number two, it told me that Vitalik probably knows a little bit about the project. And number three, it kind of, I think, just gave a little bit more credibility to Internet Computer from somebody who thought Internet Computer was a rug pull. And so seeing this, I had no idea that one of the founding people who were there on Ethereum's launch day was somebody who went on and worked at Dfinity. So that's pretty freaking cool, if you ask me. Because what it says is, I mean, if you think about the Ethereum founding team, a lot of these people went on and created other products. It's kind of like, you know, the people behind PayPal, right? The All In podcast. They all went on and created more bigger and more technologically advanced things after that. And so I think that's what we're looking at here with Internet Computer. And maybe they're not directly working with each other, but I would imagine there's some type of cohesion in terms of understanding what Ethereum can do, what Internet Computer can do. I'm also going to be doing another video about Internet Computer powering Ethereum's encryption and privacy layer, because there's a lot of work being put in for privacy on Ethereum, especially if like corporations are going to be using Ethereum. Like there needs to be some level of security and privacy for their wallets and for their transactions. And so like if everybody knows like, oh, Apple is now paying on the Ethereum network. Oh, let's see who Apple is paying. Oh, Apple pays this vendor and this vendor and this vendor and this vendor. And then the competitors know. And it's just like kind of, I guess, insider secrets for these companies. And so, yeah, they want a privacy layer. And there's already developers with Dfinity and Internet Computer that are working on powering that for Ethereum. And so when you hear about those kind of things and you hear Vitalik say that Internet Computer is a sister network, and you see the capabilities of Internet Computer continuing to advance. I mean, we're seeing all of the metrics on Internet Computer really advancing, and I believe advancing further beyond what most other networks are even capable of. I don't know. To me, it's like very, very bullish. And yeah, I mean, really the only competitor to Internet Computer from a transaction throughput and bandwidth perspective is Solana. But if we compare Internet Computer to Solana, Internet Computer transactions per second is 67 times more than Ethereum. Internet Computer max TPS is 411 times more than Ethereum's max. Block time. ICP block time is 96% less than Ethereum's block time, right? Instantaneous transactions, where Ethereum, you got to wait and wait and wait for those confirmations, right? ICP finality is 100% less than Ethereum finality, right? 0 seconds on Internet Computer, 16 minutes on Ethereum. And so is Ethereum fully capable of everything that Internet Computer is? No. And so what is Ethereum going to do? They're going to outsource some technologies and outsource some needs for Ethereum to blockchains that can handle it. And maybe it's Solana, maybe it's Internet Computer, maybe it's another chain. Who knows? But Internet Computer, everything that we just talked about, plus everything that I put up on this channel about Internet Computer, it seems like they're really well positioned. And so going back to like when alt season, because a lot of people keep asking Cryptoviser, Internet Computer just keeps under $5, so how can it really be the best technology? That's not how the markets work, right? The market is not just going to go up because you bought it and you think that it's great. Some of these you have to hold for a longer period of time. But if you understand the parabolic, as Raoul Pal calls it, the banana zone, when the banana zone happens, as we're seeing with these companies like Circle, like Bitmine Immersion Technologies, which is now an Ethereum treasury company, this is the banana zone. We're in it. It's underway right now. But going back to what I was just saying, right? A lot of people are holding coins that they're like, these are not performing, because the narrative cycle is not about Internet Computer right now. It's not about Solana right now. It's not about Cardano right now. It's not about XRP. Right now, it's about Wall Street and what Wall Street is doing. But if we get an AI narrative pickup, what do you think is going to happen to Internet Computer? If AI picks up on chain, what do you like? Imagine OpenAI or any of these big AI companies, right? We already know that Twitter X is using they partner with, I think, Poly Market for betting on chain. They're about to release some financial products as well, probably directly tied into crypto potentially. What if they start getting involved in AI? We already know OpenAI is aware of Internet Computer. We already know Mario, who has the largest Twitter spaces and friends with Elon, is engaged with Internet Computer capabilities and development. Once that banana zone starts, you're not going to want to buy then. You're going to want to be in the coin already. This is why people say don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Only invest with the gambling money. You don't go to a casino and remortgage your house. People are doing that right now. They're literally remortgaging their houses. By the way, I'm drinking iced coffee today. What are you guys drinking? Let me know. It's basically water by now, but yeah, it's all the ice is melting. But anyway, here's the deal, guys. People are doing that in crypto right now. They're remortgaging their houses. They're taking out debt to buy crypto, which is very, very risky. But if you're playing with money that you can afford to lose, and that's the only money you should be investing, then it shouldn't matter right now. Or if you think that Internet Computer is underperforming and you're holding it, sell it and rotate that money into something that you think is going to perform. But here's the deal. Where we are in the cycle, going back to the beginning of this video, going back to what Arthur Hayes said, going back to the dormant wallets being awoken, going back to the wrecked capital analysts and talking about the Bitcoin halving cycle. We are now at the end of the cycle. And so rotating from underperforming positions to performing positions is very risky, because you're at the point in the cycle where when you start moving, the coins that you were in, they start moving. And so you have to make decisions. Regardless, you have to make decisions. Do I sell? Do I not sell? Do I rotate into another position or do I not? Do I look and say meme coin season or altcoin season may not be here? Maybe everything is about the stock market. Maybe I need to rotate over there. Maybe that's what you do. There's so many different potential opportunities. I mean, you could even just do nothing. or sell all your positions, just sit in cash for a little bit. Because there will be a point, and I think we're very close to that point, where it's going to be time to short the market. It's very risky to short it. But because, number one, we're going to have to keep an eye on the fear and greed index. We're going to have to keep an eye on what the Federal Reserve is doing. We're going to have to understand what the plan is, because to me, it seems like they're setting up. The Federal Reserve is not going to cut, period. And that's setting up for Jerome Powell's end of his tenure. Maybe next year, he'll start cutting aggressively towards the end so that he is, he goes out as Federal Reserve Chairman and everybody loves him. But I think that he's thinking about legacy. And I think that he's thinking about, he wants to be remembered as the guy who fought inflation, not fought to pump the markets. And so we'll have to wait and see. But based on everything that we're seeing, to me, it seems like the Federal Reserve is not going to cut. The market is very exuberant. I mean, little tiny things like the market will pump for, right? But should it be actually pumping when the general economy and how people feel? Most people are 100% in the market. And so they don't have any extra money to keep putting in. So this idea that, retail is going to come and save the market, it's ridiculous. Everybody in retail is already in. Who's going to be in? This is about where Wall Street is doing. They are the exit liquidity. They always were going to be for this cycle. Next cycle, maybe it'll be the hedge funds. Maybe it'll be governments. But this cycle, it's Wall Street. And Wall Street does not give a F about most of these altcoins right now. They just want to start getting involved in the crypto space or the blockchain space or the investing space. And so a lot of them are doing it through the ETFs. So we'll have to see where this all goes. But let me know what you guys think about my analysis, about Arthur Hayes' analysis, about all of these dormant wallets kind of waking up, and what does that mean about Internet Computer, about Solana, about Ethereum. Let me know what you guys think down below. Don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up. Check out my other videos on this channel, and make sure you guys keep an eye out for Internet Computer is our sister network video, where I'm going to break down exactly what Vitalik said and where Internet Computer is going. See you guys in the next video. Crypto on.